Welcome back to Next Normal and the closing session, which is pure woman power. By the way, happy International Women's Day. So we have Souhila from BMS. And Souhila, if I understood it correct, you're currently in Florida, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. So envy on you. And by the way, how are you?
Very well. Thank you
Fantastic.
so much.
Then we have Megan Reutin from Grunenthal. Hi, Megan. Same question to you.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. How are you doing yourself?
Doing good. And we have Nataliya Andreychuk from Ukraine. I just really have to mention that our prayers and beliefs are with the brave Ukrainian people. And I mean, frankly speaking, it's really a big admiration that you even joined this session to make your time available for speaking. So again, they are very hard to explain my words, but I hugest support to Ukraine and to the people. So Nataliya prepared a very interesting presentation for our session, which is Contentverse for patient experience. We see a very dramatic and rising topic in that regard, and how actually modular content can become a game changer. But please, Nataliya, the stage is yours, and please prepare the session with your presentation.
Thank you very much for having me in this session. It is very difficult to say how I'm feeling today, because my mind is absolutely occupied with what is happening to Ukraine, to my country, to my home, to everyone's today. We pray, we hope that this will be finished very soon and the life will be back to normal. Our company Viseven is working and continuing to service our clients, and I want today to talk about the product and approaches we were building the last 12 years, and we are continuing to build and introduce these ideas in this nice I would say metaphor, which is Contentverse, right? Because this is a metaphor for how we are feeling about the content in the future and today, how all of us have to might be interested to change the way how it is working right now. Like today, all of us focused on our own health, and it means the industry in the digital transformation is focused more on the patient and on the needs of the patient than before. So that means like patient is now on the center stage, and that also gives a lot of changes outside and inside the industry. What does it mean? First of all, there are a lot of new channels of communications, and there are a lot of new experiences of how we are delivering value through communication and through expressing our content. That means omnichannel is becoming something which is not the choice but the need today. We are working with more data, the data and the personal data, the data about target audience is paramount, and we need to figure out how to work better with the data and how to apply it to the right content, how to use it in the way that our messaging is becoming more valuable. Then, of course, we have to focus on the trusted channels, and HCP healthcare professionals are remaining one of the most trustful channels. However, we have also to give more possibility to the patient to find the right content, to have the second opinion, to understand whenever it is possible to get into clinical trials or not. So that all of this making all the game is very different. When we talk about the omnichannel iceberg and where we are with omnichannel omnichannel today, and I'm leading towards what we are doing in Viseven and to our product. We have to obtain the absolute knowledge and possibility and the tooling to be able to make the adjustment and the change of any type of the content for any channel at every part of the customer journey. This is one of the most critical need from the Contentverse today. So it means once you create a piece of content, it has to be created once. It has to be able to be edited without so many, I would say, technical difficulties. It has to be published once and retired once as well. So it means we are not copy pasting. We are not making a lot of content which is disconnected, which is working in silos. We have to put the content into the understandable chunks, which is modules, and to make sure like we have the right process in place, which and the right tooling, which allows us to work within this approach. Going with the technology, is technology our salvation? So is with only tooling do we have the possibility to solve all of our problems? I think the holy grail of the approach, of the modular approach, of the personalization approach, of every modern approach to the content which is driving digital transformation, as we cannot take the new tooling integrated like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which is highly integrated tools and approaches, and use the old-fashioned way what we were used before to create the content. This is the mistake which many organizations are making. The other mistake is we are really focusing sometimes more on the way how we are really publishing the content and really on the channel side, and less on the how we create the content, how we're working with the phrases, how we're building it, how we are assembling it together, and the tagging and findability of this content. We are paying less attention to this part. So this is one of the things which really have to drag our attention more these days. I would say another thing which have to be at our focus is standardization. It sounds like a very paradox, because without standardization it is not really possible to go into the personalization of your messages. And we are working a lot with our customers today, bringing the right tools, the right integrations, and the right process and governance, not only to the customer, to the pharmaceutical companies, organization, but to all the vendors who are engaged into the upstream and downstream of the content production. Because going modular and going to personalization of the messages, it is the strategic problem. It is more strategic problem than the tools problem or technology problem. That's why there are a lot of efforts to be done for working with all the agencies on upstream and downstream of content lifecycle, to make sure like they are really understand what are changes to be made on their side, so that the content could be created once, edited once, retired once, and be highly traceable, right? So going further, digital asset management has to be in the center of content production and in the center of the architecture of all the solutions which are used for content production, because having digital asset management as the heart, the center of this process, we do understand that we can centralize and organize all the assets in the single place. We manage end-to-end content lifecycle from creation to distribution of the content. We find and download digital assets easily in a few clicks. We control control all the assets and its structures. We save costs in the end. So that means we can orchestrate all the process far much easier than before. And the Contentverse system with the digital asset management on the center, sorry for the ugly drawing, but it looks like these planets which are responsible for all strategic parts of the process, which is not only governance and connectivity, which is also onboarding with all stakeholders, which is taxonomy and tagging, standardization, automation of as many processes as we can automate today, and of course modularization of content production. So going more detailed with the steps which we as a company are advising to do today, it's like crawl, walk and run. So what we advise to do for with the products such as Viseven and the others. So first of all, to see and understand your technology basis, to understand your baseline and understand the possibilities across all the systems you have in the company and across all the stakeholders. So how they are connected, what can you achieve with your current setup. So do this audit, like technical audit, and make sure like you are able to connect all of your systems for the content production flow end to end. So that means like the step number one. The step number two is already modular content, is already modular approach, which means implementation of modular content strategy. There is working with key messages, metadata, and with the integrations with such systems as Viseven for content production, automation, and implementation of do-it-yourself approach, the possibility to edit and adjust content of every step of the omnichannel journey. And all of these are leading us towards the automation of the content production, which involves artificial intelligence and all the auto tagging and auto suggestions and content auto generation, even at that level. So these are the three main steps, which are the part of the main approach, which we start usually as a proof of concept with our customers. And according to goals and the appetites of the customer, we are able to go forward. So one of the biggest platform which we built for the last 12 years is Viseven, which actually allows all of this content production tricks and content production modularization. And once we go on the feature details, so we can see that we can easily cover the briefing, the standardization of the content request, the auto tagging, the modular content development, all the agency supports, the journey planners, and the others. We connected to Viva Vault as the approval tool and the digital asset management tool. We are able to build and to show you how your content will be looking into the modular approach paradigm. So when you see the same really key message in which is pushed to different channels, and the system itself rebuild according to the channel specific technical needs the content and generates the different previews. So it's all technicalities which I would not mention today, but what I would like to mention that there is the possibility to try all of these, because it's a huge project, like modularization of the content, all of the new approach I have been talking right now, and the new tooling. It's a huge change, but we developed very fast and very, I would say, easy approach how to try it. And it is a proof of concept in which we can, like in 3 months, like 12 to 16 weeks term, to build the integrated solution from based on the goals of your company according to your brand needs, and you can try and challenge all the system and systems and infrastructure which you currently have or want to try in this modular regards with our help. Why we can do it? Because we are Viseven. We have built the content acceleration platform. We have been working for this like 12 years, and we are continuing to help with the digital transformation of our customers at a different stage of their digital maturity. So whenever questions you have, please ask them. So it's about the presentation, and I will be happy to answer. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Nataliya. Thank you for setting the stage. It was a very meaningful and insightful presentation. We also received a couple of questions from our audience, but let's deep dive into the conversation based on the questions which you prepared. And the first one would be, we really hear a lot the word extension verse, metaverse, contentverse, you mentioned now, and so on, which becomes very popular these days. So how would you actually define contentverse and why we need it? And let's start with you, Souhila.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you so much. And thank you, Nataliya, for this great overview. Very impressive. Yeah, I think reflecting on this verse, this usually denotes an area of activity or of interest distinguished by a particular characteristic. I had to Google to find out exactly what is it. But I like the way that we've seen the association between the universe and the contentverse in our case. And I think it's all about how we can leverage the content for the patient experience and for the patient centricity approach, right? For what I think from a pharmaceutical perspective, with the empowerment of patients who are becoming more engaged in their healthcare experience themselves, they are looking for information that are accessible through multiple digital platforms. And one example that can be shared is the scientific publication that is now available via open access to provide specific patient access program, because it's expressed as a requirement and a need from the patient to get a better understanding and information about the new drugs, the new development, the new clinical trials. But they also look at some other multiple platforms independently, and that can be social media such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And what they are looking for is for educational content on their own disease and treatment options. So this content and information will really benefit from a more specific and personalized approach, really to speak about, to take into consideration the patient language and the information level that will help tailor the patient experience in gathering the information and the awareness they need to be part of the journey.
Thank you, Souhila. Megan?
So for me, the Contentverse really is the universe of content in its entirety, and that's the whole circle of life that Nataliya had mentioned, from defining the content strategy, including the objectives for exactly where we're looking to take things, why we need things, determining the type of content that would be required. Content creation, Nataliya, you also touched on whether it's dynamic, whether it's hybrid, what kind of reuse are we going to have, whether we're using crowdsourcing for content acquisition. Then also the delivery via campaigns. So ensuring content is easy to use, that it's understandable, and that it's accessible, a little bit like the W3C standards for websites, but for content across all channels. And I don't think we necessarily need the Contentverse. I think we're already surrounded by content. But for me, the Contentverse is actually already here. So it's crucial for me that we have our thinking hats on in terms of structure and governance before it grows arms and legs any further.
Thank you, Megan. Nataliya?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I do support Souhila and Megan with all of this description, because it's this word Contentverse is a very nice word, but from technically speaking, right? So we are already in there, right? So we have to think more about trustful resources, right? So having this focus on patients, on trustful resources, we will be not able to create the noisy information, right? So we have to be focused on quality and value information, and we have to be focused on the controlling this information. And in this regard, creating this Contentverse is like, for me as the technical person from the agency, is the whole new world where we will be like defended from the noise, and we will have the access to more trustful resources where it will be easier for us, like for our clients and agencies, to control the very valuable information, to trace it, to give it when it is needed and through the right channels, and to make sure we can update it whenever we want. Look, sometimes one email or one banner is created like 6 months or something. It is maybe like it sounds a little bit less meaningful in the whole perspective, but once we are focusing on the just the reliability of data, to have a very trustful data and to give the valuable messages, it is paramount to make sure like we are agile, we are pushing the same message into all our channels, and we control it. It's valuable, and it is easy to find, so the data is also really like in control. So this, for me, all like paramount features which are to be provided in terms of Contentverse.
Thank you very much, Nataliya. Next question, and let's start this time with you, Megan. This is what might be the key pillars when we speak about the Contentverse, and how actually patients and HCPs can benefit from it.
So firstly, categorization, so themes, subjects, and then for me, it's everything that is customer related. So consent, preferences, feedback, so you're encouraging that closed loop marketing and relevance. As a business, we should know exactly who it is that we're interacting with, and we should know who we're interacting with well enough so that we're providing relevant content. For me, it's a little bit like a two-way street. If those that we're interacting with give us their consent to use a little bit of their data, then it makes sense for everything that we provide them with on whatever channel they choose to be entirely relevant. Other benefits would include things like more personalized experience, flexibility, increased knowledge and choice, including the choice to not be overwhelmed by the staggering amount of content that is out there. And then other types of norms should be the ability to access questions at any time of day or night, should you choose to do so, access across devices or channels, again, that the individuals that we're in contact with choose to use. You're always going to have your usual suspects, but depending on the therapeutic area, the brand, the country, and the audience segment will change a little bit what those preferences are. Self-service also should be at the heart of that, or part of the journey at least. Not all individuals want that face-to-face interaction, or not all individuals want to revert to the face-to-face interaction that we had prior to COVID. So it's imperative that we cater for face-to-face interactions, those who don't want, and then any sort of combination in between. Again, it comes back to really knowing your audiences inside and out.
Thanks a lot, Megan. Nataliya.
That's I do agree with Megan a lot, because actually Megan named everything what I had in my mind, right? Because just to summarize, like findability, like you have accessibility and findability of reliable content. So it has to be our priority number one. Then, of course, the trustful resources, which I already mentioned, number two. And then, of course, the channels, not all of us are able to go face to face. The channels are important, and the content itself. So we have to deliver value. This is first of all, like especially for clinical trials, for rare disease, for oncology, cardio treatments. This is the first priority. So I do support Megan, and I really want to stress that this change has to be not driven by competition at any, like our world today, it has to be collaborative in terms of pharma companies themselves and in terms of different agencies themselves. So it's not a competition, it's collaboration. It's also like very important.
Very important. Fully agree, Nataliya. And Souhila.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all what have been said so far from Megan and Nataliya. But I think what I would think about globally is that one source of truth is absolutely very critical and important to really think about these patient outcomes that are it's all our mind. I think the second pillar we have to, and I'm just speaking about medical affairs and pharmaceutical company. What we need to make sure is that we do generate the data that are needed to build this content, right? You have no right content if you don't provide the right information, and especially how we are evolving with those complex therapies area, the severe disease, which require, a very tailored content approach, right? So that needs to be anticipated. We need to collect the insight to understand what are the needs from both our HCPs and patients to address these data generations and clinical trials plan. And ultimately, what I'm thinking about, will be the benefit for both HCPs and patients. It will be more about a shared decision-making approach, right? Because both of them do have the level of information they need to engage in this partnership and to identify the best course of actions and treatment for the patients, right? With this care, meaningful conversation and established trust. So I do see a great value to continue to expand this content approach and to really fit the needs of both our HCPs and patients to focus on this patient centricity.
Thank you, Souhila. Last question, and let's start this time with you, Nataliya. This is, we hear really a lot about customer experience. In almost every single session at nextnormal, everyone is just speaking about customer experience and in the pharma industry. But can you describe how pharma can start to deliver it? Let's be concrete. And why content is king and so crucial for proper customer experience?
I think this is a very good question. Thank you, Dario. It's a question which is every time in this or other direction flying in all the, in all the conferences. And I would say, first of all, if we start treating content as a strategic problem, not just the problem of technology or of vendors, because this is the common mistake. It is a strategical problem. So, like how you build your content strategy inside organization end to end. This all like all of your success depends on every steps in this chain. So it means from the upstream to downstream, from the teams, from the channels, from everything what you include in your content strategy. So to succeed, you have to rethink the complete operations. Like Megan mentioned, a lot of factors are really influencing on this success. But to be successful, what we also figured out, it's impossible to make such a big shift without having like even not one, several smaller pilots. So it's common. We have to eat this elephant by pieces. So we cannot do this huge transformation just announcing it and starting from scratch. It is impossible. It will break us all the operations and will stop us. It's impossible. So my advice is any time to start with the proof of concept where not only one vendor, different vendors can participate, because you have to challenge, are you ready with the technology? Have you done the right choice of the technology? This is the stream number one. The stream number two, do you have right people on board to run your service, like your team, your people? Then do you have a brand? It's not to sacrifice with the brand, like less critical brand with which you want to try. What countries can advocate, what countries can be leaders in this new direction? This is also important. And what are your appetite this year? What is your goal? Do you understand your goal? this year. So this all questions, if you can answer, you're able to start a couple of pilots, and you will see and you will receive your answers. This is the recipe from my side.
Fantastic, Nataliya. We will cook with that recipe. So.
Thank you. Hopefully.
Souhila?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, I think, again, from maybe a different angle from my perspective, I think everything we need to think about to start with is to focus on unmet need and patient journey. What remains critical, right? I think what we speak about content is also related to the digital engagement, which becomes crucial. And that's why I think everyone is aligned here of having this content strategy set up appropriately to focus on this Contentverse is one critical aspect. And to be also very brief, I will say that I think there is this require a shifting mindset, right? For maybe in the pharmaceutical company, we used to be on, we still in the past, and I don't speak about my company, I just speak about what I see overall. I'm here personally, but it takes time for us to realize that we need to adapt more quickly on the change that does occur in many other space, that not only for pharmaceutical company. I think I heard in the past on the Netflix, the Amazon, and everything like that, that is a reality of our customers, if you will. And I think that we have to be more agile to integrate this evolution in our purpose and strategy as well.
Thank you, Souhila. And Megan, final words.
So for me, customer experience in the pharmacy industry is no different from customer experience across any other industry. There's one common goal, and that's ensuring the best customer experience at every touch point feasible. It's all about knowing what your customers want, what they need, and how best you can use content to serve that. I mean, we all know that in terms of when you're creating content, that content with images is 4 times more impactful than content just with text. Same with video, 20 times more impactful. The whole golden rule about reuse, 80-20, but it's not just a question of optimizing the content. You also need streamlined customer journeys, a real omnichannel experience. So it's a case of when you have customers that come to you, it's not like, oh, well, we spoke to you on this channel, but now you need to kind of tell us who you are again. That doesn't really work. And then frequent customer feedback should be enabled as well. So this is also listening to feedback that's out there, whether it's directed at the company or not, around the company in general. Plus the content. And lastly, and the most important point that Souhila actually touched on, was the data that sits underneath and encompasses it all. Proper customer experience, including content, needs to be data driven. So how is the content resonating? Is it resonating? What points of the process are breaking? What lexicon should we use with which type of audience segment? Long gone are the days, unfortunately, of when experience-only created content had any sorts of value. What we've got to remember is that despite having the best content strategy in the world, it's only part of the puzzle, as we've all mentioned. Effective use of the data in and around everything tied to customer experience helps you strive for that shiny, streamlined customer experience goal.
Thank you, Megan. We are running out of time. Actually, we went already out of time, but we have one interesting question, which I will take from the audience. And this is self-service is a great idea, but how easy and feasible it is for small, medium companies to manage the geo requirements that comes with the access to a lot of content provided? I think a very good question. Who would like to provide an answer on that?
You mean like to rephrase this question, there is a lot of demand from different geolocations with the different languages, how to manage it properly, right?
Exactly. In some perspective of self-service, right?
Yes, self-service, right?
Exactly.
So it is not easy, but there is a recipe, another recipe. We call it in our organization digital content factory or content hub. It is not obviously has to be one vendor of choice who is doing all white glove services. So what we have to do, like you have to do first, you have to streamline and orchestrate all your requests. For this, there there is already a lot of tooling, but there is a big change across of the organization, because there is a new role like demand manager or demand center. So it depends on the huge or small operations you have. So this center has to all the requests have to arrive, and all the requests have to be triaged. What does it mean? Because there are a lot of channels, there are a lot of vendors and different types of requests. This center is like the project management center, triages the request and give it to the channel managers or liaison managers. It doesn't mean how you will name these people, or multi-channel managers who are country specifics. Like one manager can be responsible for 5 to 6 markets. What does it mean? That means once the request arrives, it's already triaged. We already know there is the standard pricing, there is the standard of realization, everything is standardized. It means it goes to the vendor of choice or to the separate vendors. It depends on the architecture of this solution. But the main idea is for this center of like DCF, Digital Content Factory, with the correct right tooling, there has to be the standardization of how the requests are handled. If you start to control your request, you will understand your needs, and you will understand the budgets, the needs on the vendor side, and what has to be, I would say, automated or adjusted. You just need the number one, you have to start to control your request. Then you will be working with your technology, with vendors, with standards, with the delivery. But first you have to this one.
Thank you, Nataliya. Souhila, Megan, anything to add?
I would say that it is possible, even with small and medium-sized companies, definitely possible. I would look probably more to content reuse. And dynamic overlay for different languages. So you kind of maximize the content that you already have with a minimal amount of effort.
Yeah, and I do confirm that it's possible. There is some platform from this kind of, if you take the example of the medical information on demand that we do have in our companies, is multi-languages, and there is this approach to tailor the specific languages and address the needs. So I think it's possible indeed.
Thank you, Souhila. So we came to the end. Thanks a lot for joining. It's the last session of today. It was very, very much meaningful. We will, of course, publish it on our official YouTube channel. Souhila, Nataliya, Megan, great pleasure. Take very good care. And as we start, I would like to finish it. So Slava Ukraine.
Slava to heroes. And let all pray for the first solution. And we will be peaceful very soon. And everything will be right. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dario. Thank you, everyone. And we are all with you, Nataliya, and all the Ukrainian
Thank you.
people.
Definitely. I'm here too.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.